Damon Wilson II might be one of the most explosive edge rushers in this college football season. At Venice High School in Florida, set the school record, 14 and a half sacks his junior year. Finished his prep career with 31 sacks, signed with Georgia over Alabama and Ohio State, flashed in Athens, then finally broke out in a major way after entering the transfer portal. Once he got featured as a once he got a featured rush role, the production arrived. 9 sacks, 54 pressures, second team all SEC, 2 sacks against Alabama, two sacks against Oklahoma, and even an interception in coverage. But the evaluation is one major question mark. Can he become more than just a pass rush weapon? The burst, the bend, the pressure production are real, but the run defense is thin. So today, we're going to break down Damon Wilson and why he's edge 7, why the pass rush ceiling is exciting, and what he has to prove at Miami to become a true every down edge rusher. Before we get into this, make sure you hit the follow button, like, subscribe, because we're going to keep putting in this work here at Draft Yoda. We're on our way to 100 prospects before college football season kicks off. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Yoda. We are breaking down Damon Wilson, who has an 8.85, currently number 64 overall, and edge number 7 going into this college football season. Damon is when Damon is allowed to attack, you can see immediately the first step jumps, the bend shows up, the hips are loose, the cornering ability is real, and when he wins, tackles look like they're stuck in mud trying to slide and recover. And that's the selling point. But the evaluation is not just about third down. No, he has to prove he can hold up on early downs. He has to prove he can stop the run. He has to prove tackles can't wash him out when they get their hands on his frame. Pass rush profile is already one of the best in this range on the board. The every down profile still developing. Coming out of Venice High School in Florida, as a junior, he set the school record with 14 and a half sacks. Across his prep career, finished with 268 tackles and 31 sacks. That's not a flash athlete. That's production. That's a player who knew how to get to a quarterback before getting to college. As a 4-star recruit, signed with Georgia over programs like Alabama and Ohio State. That tells you how highly coveted he was when you've got programs like that are fighting for you. They saw the burst, they saw the production, they saw the frame, they saw the pass rush upside. And Georgia landed him. They didn't give him the opportunity immediately, but the flashes showed anyways. At Georgia, his freshman year, he played sparingly. It's not surprising. Ended with 22 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. And one of the biggest flashes came against Texas, where he had a sack, tackle for loss, and a forced fumble. That matters because it showed the upside against real competition. He's not just, producing against weak opponents. He's not coming in at garbage time and getting, stats. He was playing, and he was playing against good competition. Wilson got featured at the Jack Roll the following year, and production finally caught up to his traits. Led the defense with 9 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, 54 pressures, and an interception, landing him second team all SEC honors. That is what puts him firmly in the top 65. The pressure production matters. Sacks matter. And when a player with Wilson's burst starts turning athletic flashes into consistent disruption, the NFL is going to pay attention very quickly. Opened up with 2 sacks against Central Arkansas, added 2 more against Alabama, added a sack in his first career interception against Vanderbilt. The tape showed exactly why he's dangerous. And when he can rush wide, threaten the corner, and force tackles and to open early, he can take over a passing down. That's the first thing that shines for him is the get off. He's explosive get off the edge. It's a trait that drives the entire evaluation. When he times the snap and fires off the ball, he puts tackles into immediate conflict. They have to respect the speed. They have to kick quickly. They have to protect the outside edge. And when offensive tackles have to open early, the pass rusher is already dictating the rep. And that's what Wilson does. Another thing that I love about him is the bend. Wilson can bend the corner and flatten to a quarterback with loose hips. He can separate him. It's what separates him from heavier, more powerful edges above him. Some edge rushers can run fast in a straight line, but can't corner the edge. Wilson can make that corner. He can tilt around the edge. He can reduce the surface area. He can dip. He can flatten. And when he does that, the quarterback has very little time to react. It's the kind of bend that gives him, a good upside. The pressure production, 54 pressures is a big number. It tells you that when the sacks aren't just empty numbers, that this is a player who's lurking in the backfield. He's consistently affecting quarterbacks. The pressures matter because they show repeatability. A sack can be created by coverage. A sack can be created by a quarterback holding onto the ball. A sack can be created by someone else flushing the quarterback to you. But pressure volume tells you the player is winning reps. And Wilson won a ton of reps, created stress, and forced quarterbacks off platform. The Alabama game, 2 sacks, 5 pressures. That matters because Alabama is never a soft offensive line evaluation. When you produce against Alabama, scouts are going to notice. They're going to take notice. And Wilson did not just have random pressures. He finished. He got to the quarterback. He showed the ability to win on a major stage against SEC talent. And that type of performance gives confidence to a pass rushing profile. It tells you the athleticism can translate into real tackles. And that's why the Alabama tape is one of the reasons he sits so high on my board. I also want to point out the interception because it matters. Wilson's not going to get drafted as a coverage linebacker. Let's be clear. That's not his value. He is going to be a pass rusher. But the fact that he dropped into coverage and came away with an interception shows some range and awareness beyond just rushing. And that's useful. Modern edge players are sometimes asked to drop. Zone blitzes, fire zones, simulated pressures, flat drops, PO responsibilities. If Wilson can survive these assignments, it gives the defensive coordinator more options. And the more options you give a defensive coordinator, the better off you'll be, and the more snaps you'll play. Nobody's perfect. I will say this every single time. I've said it every single time. Nobody's perfect. The number one thing he needs to work on is the run defense. It's the biggest issue. The run stop production is thin. Only 12 run stops on the year. That's not enough for every down edge. When you play edge, you have to set the front. You have to keep contained. You have to squeeze gaps. You have to take tackles, and you have to take on tackles and tight ends. And you have to play the ball bounce when the defense needs it. How do I rephrase that? You have to play the bounce when you need to bounce. Wilson's run defense lags behind his pass rush, and that's why he's only at edge 7. He also has a problem with getting washed out on early down reps. Speed rushers sometimes struggle when the game turns physical. If tackles can get into the chest, control your frame, and move you out of the gap, the defenses get stressed. Wilson has to improve his anchor. He has to improve the ability to play through contact, has to use his hands earlier, and avoid letting tackles dictate the rep. The burst is great, but on the first, second down, you can't win by running around people. Offenses will push you out of the way. Offenses will let you run and come in right behind you and just create gaps in your defense by doing so. The every down profile is a concern. Wilson played a near exclusive rush role. That makes sense with how good of a pass rusher he is, but that's a concern at the next level. Can he only play 50 snaps? Can he handle heavy run defense? Can he handle run heavy teams? Can he survive when offenses run right at him? Can he stay on the field in a base defense? Those are the questions. Right now, the cleanest version of his role is a designated rusher, a sub-package demon that comes in. But if he wants to add value, he needs to add to his run playability. For 2026, the move to Miami, the checklist becomes pretty clear. Keep the pressure production high. Keep winning with speed. Keep bending on the corner. Keep finishing with sacks. But add run defense. Add the anchor. Add more physicality at the point of attack. Show you can handle the first and second down. If Wilson does that, he's going to climb quickly because the NFL always needs rushers. With Wilson's get off and bend, he will get a chance. But the difference between a third down weapon and a starting edge is run defense. And that's the question he has to answer in 2026. The burst is there, the bend is there, the pressure production is there. The big game pass rush type is there. Currently sitting with an 8.85 out of 10. 64 overall, edge number 7. He has the explosive speed, the rare get off, the real bend, the loose hips, the strong pressure, and the ability to threaten the edge before tackles can recover. 54 pressures matters, 9 sacks matters, second team all SEC honors matters. That's the upside. The concern is clear, though. The run stop production is thin. The run defense lags behind the pass rush. And the every down profile is still developing. Wilson can get to the pass rusher right now, but can he be an NFL every down defensive end? That's the question. That's how I see him on my board. What do you think about Damon Wilson II? Is he one of the best pure pass rushers in college football? Can Miami turn him into a complete edge defender? And how high would you rank a speed rusher with this kind of burst and bend? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and follow for more so we keep pushing for over 100 players before college football kicks off this year. As always, I am Draft Yoda Bill Workman, your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.